Hello, my name is Lauren Heistad, author to the book Homecoming, and we're continuing on the journey that we seem to be on together as we read through the chapters of my book. Today is chapter 3, and it is called In Times of Need. For the first 3 decades of my life, I did not really have a clear understanding of my abilities. I certainly remembered being asked to channel energies towards my mom. However, besides that one very special experience, all other information I received had consisted of small tidbits of information or premonitions that were not always clear or concise. And for that very reason, I always assumed helping to heal my mom had been a once-in-a-lifetime occurrence, a chance happening with the divine, never to be repeated. I was wrong. Looking back, I can clearly see that experience was not a one-time event, but the start of a lifelong journey of healing and many other things. A lifelong journey. Nearly 20 years after my first experience, my angelic radar clearly and accurately sounded once again. A second family member was in distress, and I was asked by Spirit to step up to the plate and help out. And once again, I did so without question. Sort of. My family had just received a very happy phone call, notifying us of a new addition to our family. We were celebrating for my younger brother and his wife, who were now the proud parents of a baby boy. Everyone was very excited. A new life in this world always brings so much joy. At the time of the birth, my brother had indicated everyone was doing fine and that both mom and baby were resting. I remember him clearly saying all is well, but please give us time to catch up on our sleep before coming to the hospital for a visit. The labor had been incredibly long and everyone was so very tired. And in any normal circumstances, their request would have been very reasonable and appropriate. However, I could not get over the feeling something was very wrong. In the back of my mind, my spirit guides were asking me to get to the hospital and provide some sort of support. I struggled with the 2 different versions of the story. On one hand, I was hearing from my brother all was fine. On the other hand, the situation was quite different. And although I did not understand what the problem was exactly, I was certainly receiving strong guidance to get to the hospital and help. Now at this point, I really wanted to honor my brother and sister-in-law's wishes. They had clearly requested we give them space, and I was confident they did not want any company. Besides, if something were wrong, would they not have said? I even tried bargaining with my spirit guides. I actually pointed out that during my mom's experience, I successfully sent healing energies from the comfort of my home over 100 kilometers away. Surely I could send healing energies at a much shorter distance. Besides, the baby was such a little guy. How could he possibly need a lot of energetic support so early on in life? Now, regardless of what I tried to tell myself, the urges persisted to no avail. The instructions to go to the hospital and send healing energies continuously ran through my mind. I felt completely off balance the entire day and was having trouble determining my course of action. I even told my husband I did not want to continue with our original plans to have a fun outing that day. I adamantly felt something was wrong with the baby and I should stay within reach so I could provide support. And although no one understood my concerns, my husband and 2 children did agree to leave me at home to pace the floor as they continued with their day. And no sooner had they left our house when the phone rang. My suspicions had finally been confirmed. My mom was on the other line. She was very distraught and upset as she recounted the story. Now, earlier that day, Mom had gone to visit her new grandson, and while there, the hospital staff noticed the newborn baby was non-responsive on the right side. After tests were completed, it was determined the baby had suffered a stroke during labor, and my mom urged me to go to the hospital and provide comfort as she continued to contact the family with the news and request their support in prayers. Now, unfortunately, it did take this confirmation phone call to get me moving. But once the information was received, I was in the car and on the way. My suspicions had finally been defined. It was not a good feeling, but I finally knew without a doubt my apprehensions throughout the day had been for a reason, and I was needed in some way. In what way exactly was still a very large mystery to me. While speeding towards the hospital, I started asking my guides for help on how to proceed, and I was told very clearly to send healing energies to the baby, surround him with good thoughts, and to give hope to his concerned and overwhelmed parents. Now, since I was still very aware of my brother and sister-in-law not feeling up to visitors, my first line of business was with the baby. I used my intuition and swiftly moved through the hospital to find approximately where I thought he was located. And then, because I was still so unsure and insecure about what I was doing with the healing process, I literally hid myself near the baby and started to channel energy. Now, the situation felt very similar to when my mom was in the hospital. So even though I was not in the room with my little nephew, I could see the baby's location in my mind's eye and visualize where the energy needed to go. I even started to enhance my abilities by calling upon Archangel Raphael to help guide the process. I sent green healing energies to surround the baby and cocoon him in a protective layer of love and support. These visualizations were new to me, and I did question where the ideas come from. Who was I? Nope, wrong chapter. Who was this Archangel Raphael? Why would I be calling on him to help? And why was I visualizing this beautiful emerald green energy? At the time, the answer did not really matter. But I did tuck these questions into the back of my mind and then continued with the task at hand. Instinctively, I continued to send energy, prayed for support, and sent that little guy all the love I could muster. About an hour had passed when I heard from my angels again. They indicated it was time to visit the new parents and give them hope. That's my deer in the headlights look. Receiving a request to pass on a message of hope was not a new experience for me, as mentioned. My angels had made similar requests in the past. However, never had I actually responded. nor spoken up to tell someone that everything was going to be okay. Even the thought of approaching my brother made me feel vulnerable and out of my comfort zone. Way out. Way out. And besides, who was I to know what the results would be? What if I was wrong? What if I provided them with false hopes? These questions did not last for very long, for I began to be moved by a force far greater than me. Very quickly, I made my way through the hospital and found myself standing outside of a gift shop. Upon entering the store, I immediately was drawn to an area in the back of the store that just seemed to light up. On the shelf was a collection of angel pins, and the very first one that caught my attention was called the Angel of Hope. Tears streamed down my face as I quickly purchased the little angel and then headed up to the room. Now, when I knocked on the door and entered, I could see the reaction in both parents' eyes. They were devastated. They were devastated by their news that they received earlier that day and would have really preferred to be by themselves to digest their new reality. I quickly gave my brother a hug and assured him I was not staying long. I said I was there to let them know everything would be okay. I went on to say they would even take that baby home on Wednesday and that all would be fine. Even as I was saying those words, I was thinking to myself, where is this coming from? Why would I so clearly state information for something I did not know? My brother was equally as perplexed. He said he appreciated my positive outlook and for trying to provide hope, but they had just heard from the doctor. The baby was not doing well at all and had in fact, the baby was not doing well at all and in fact may never come home. As my brother spoke of their harsh reality, I was completely speechless. But my mind was whirling. Why in the world would my guide send me here to give hope to what seemed a hopeless situation? Why had I spouted off a message that was so darn specific? Did I really just guarantee a release from the hospital on Wednesday? What in the world was I thinking? And on that awkward note, I gave my brother another hug, handed him the angel pin, said my goodbyes, and left the room. I did not actually leave, though. Here's the interesting part. I spent the rest of the day still hiding in the hospital, sending healing energies to the baby. I could not even explain why. I was completely embarrassed and horrified by the exchange that had transpired with my brother, and yet forces greater than me were once again holding my body hostage. Despite the hesitations I had as a person, my inner self stayed strong and did not give up. I provided the support my spiritual guides requested of me, even though I so clearly did not understand the scope of my work. Common theme. Time flew by without even realizing. Then all of a sudden, I heard within my mind it was time to go to the cafeteria. And without questioning why I was following this inner guidance, I got up and was on the move to the other end of the hospital. It is there that I ran into my brother, who was having supper with my dad. And I think I was more surprised to see them than they were to see me. I mean, I had been there all day, and yet decided at that exact moment it was time to move locations. They both asked what I was still doing there, Had I really been there all day? I didn't even know how to answer that question. I could hardly believe it myself. True, I could hardly believe it myself. I had been so engrossed in sending healing energy that I had not even noticed how much time had passed. Besides, how could I begin to explain the inner need to send healing energy when, truthfully, I knew very little about it? Despite my vague answer to their questions, which I cannot even remember to this day, we had a good talk, and I felt a little better about what had transpired. When I finally left the hospital, I didn't go home. Instead, I went to the local bookstore in search of a frame of reference or explanation for the day's experiences. I was guided to an area in the store, and then an aisle, and then a book. It practically jumped right off the shelf at me. I quickly ran home and began to read. In there, I found references to Archangel Raphael, and it was noted he was known for his healing abilities. The book went on to further account for the emerald green I had used earlier that day, and described it as a color that had been attributed to healing since the beginning of time. I was both relieved and perplexed. How did I know this information prior to reading the book? How could it be that I have so much knowledge in the area of healing that is only now beginning to surface? Now I began to feel more confident about the day's events and convinced a healing was in fact taking place. I even started to be a little bit more hopeful on Wednesday's discharge from the hospital and was pleased with the progress. Unfortunately, Wednesday came and Wednesday went, and the baby was still in intensive care. It was also determined that he was having seizures with up to 25 a day. The entire family was devastated. I too felt bad for my brother and his family, but mostly I was disappointed in my guides and myself. I even yelled at my angelic team that day. I did. I yelled. Why work through me? Why work through me? And put me through this emotional roller coaster if it does not make a difference? What good is hope if it doesn't deliver some sort of reprieve? I demanded. Their answer was the same as it had always been. Continue to send healing energies and continue to trust in the divine order within this situation. Truthfully, I cried a lot that day. Forgot to turn down my phone. Sorry. I cried a lot that day, but then I worked to pull myself together. Not for me, for my nephew. Even with my pride broken on being wrong about the discharge date of Wednesday, I did not give up. I actually took a few days off work and continued to send healing energies. I could not explain why I was being asked to help, but it was very clear to me I was being asked. I read more books, learned more about the guidance I was receiving, and continued to send positive light and love to my brother's baby boy. And on the following Wednesday, he was released from the hospital and went home with his parents. Thanks be to God. It was that very day. It was that very day that I looked up to the heavens and gave thanks, where thanks was certainly due. I also, for the first time in my life, realized how I wanted to dedicate my entire life. my entire life. To whatever this is that is going on inside of me. I still had so many questions, so much to learn, and so many experiences to encounter. However, I knew with all my heart that if I was being asked to help move forward, if I was being asked to help someone move forward with their life in some way, I would do everything I could to make that happen. If I was being asked to step in and have the courage to speak up and show that we as individuals can make a difference in someone's life, then that is what I would strive to do. Still working on that. In the meantime, my nephew, he has grown to be a wonderfully healthy and active child. He's not even a child anymore. A long time has passed here. But he's grown to be healthy and active despite original expectations of doctors and family. He has defied all odds, conquered so many obstacles, and demonstrated to our family the power of prayer, hope, and courage. He is also the most wonderful little angel I have ever seen, and I am very thankful and grateful to have been able to contribute to his life and him to mine. Thank you to my wonderful nephew who has blessed me with this experience. I am forever grateful that you gave me the opportunity to find and let my light shine. Okay. Activating your soul works. We live in a world where our spiritual encounters are often dismissed. For the most part, our society believes we are alone in this world, left to struggle through whatever life throws our way. That life is cruel and our impact on each other's lives is futile. I strongly disagree. Strongly. What I have learned from my nephew is that our powerful souls are capable of contributing to extraordinary miracles, so long as our earthly minds gets out of the way for our true spirit to shine. I have also learned these life-defining moments do not have to be so far or few between as I have originally believed. We can always live in unison with the universe and those we love. We do hold the power within to help facilitate a healing. We are connected to the divine light and have access to utilize this energy whenever needed. The connection is there and readily available. We just need to be aware of and learn how to tap into this energy. Likewise, it is very possible to lift the veil between our worlds, follow our own inner guidance, and flow with the energies of the universe. We only need to open our hearts, minds, and souls to allow that experience in. Your move. Activate the healer within. To activate your God-given healing powers, you only need to hold the intention to do so and believe. Understand you have access to this universal energy at all times. Choose someone in your life to send energy to. This can be a friend in need, a family member, or even yourself. Very helpful. Use your imagination and visualize your spirit moving upwards towards the heavens. From this vantage point, you will become closer to the universal energy and may find it easier to see within your mind's eye the target. Picture the person within your mind. Use your intuition to select a color that feels right and visualize this color moving from the heavens and from yourself towards the person in need. Surround them in this healing force. Envision all health problems shifting to their optimum state. Believe. Trust in your abilities. Never doubt for one moment. Okay, maybe for one moment, but then after that, never doubt. You are helping to facilitate positive change. Remember to remove your fears from the situation and trust in the divine order of all things. You being one of them. Any love and energy that you send people is always beneficial. Any love. Important to distinguish there. It creates positive changes for all involved and does impact their lives. Appreciate the power you hold to create a positive outcome and strive to harness this dormant power. It is there for you to utilize. Let your light shine. It's not as corny as it sounds. Let your light shine. Create a prayer box. A prayer box is a simple way to send love and light to a number of people in a timely and effective manner. Write the names of all those you hold near and dear to your heart on small slips of paper. Then fold the paper and place each name within a special box. Hold the intention for positive energy to freely flow to all the names contained within. Develop a daily routine to tune in and send good vibes to everyone on a daily basis. Everyone. To everyone. Okay, ask and respond. Take a more active role in sending positive energy towards those in need. You can utilize your intuition for this task by letting your inner self guide you to the person who requires an extra boost of energy. Trust in the answer you receive. Another option is to use your prayer box to select the person requiring an energetic lift. Ask your guides to provide the name of a loved one who is in need of healing today, and then reach into the box and select a piece of paper. Trust the name you receive and send them an extra dose of love. Take the time to send good thoughts towards the person. There's no need to understand the entire situation or receive all the details before taking action. Simply ask, watch or listen for the answer, and then activate the light from within. Thank you for joining me again. We'll see you next time.